You know that voice in your head? The one that, whenever you are about to do something exciting or meaningful, it's always there to remind you of all of your deepest insecurities and anxieties. That voice is called your inner critic. Today I want to talk about why the inner critic is dangerous and why it's effective at what it does. And a process that has worked for me, 3 questions to take power back from the inner critic and to regain our clarity and confidence in the process. The inner critic is this part of us that likes to spot flaws and thinks about worst case scenarios. It keeps you focused on potential failure so that you'll pull back and stay safe. It can feel like you're just being careful or just being realistic, but most of the time, it's actually keeping you stuck. One book that paints a really good picture of what this actually looks like is The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. In The Screwtape Letters, the whole book is written as fictional letters from a senior demon, Screwtape, to his nephew, Wormwood. Their job in the story is to keep a person from living fully in their faith. Not by anything dramatic or obvious, but by quiet, subtle distractions. In the letters, Screwtape instructs Wormwood to keep his patient, or human, busy with trivial things so he doesn't think deeply about God. He encourages him to notice other people's faults so he grows bitter and self-focused. He tries to fill the man's mind with fear of the future or worry about what others think so he'll stop living in the present moment. This is also a really good picture of what the inner critic does too. It's not loud or obvious. It's just there in the background, trying to distort our reality. One small thought at a time until our small worries feel huge and we start believing a smaller, false version of ourselves. And that's where the danger comes in. When we're allowing the inner critic to have power and to get loud, it shifts the way we see everything. It makes small risks feel bigger than they actually are. It keeps you hesitating and role-playing situations in your head. And worst of all, over time, instead of just seeing this as a voice that's telling us things, we start to assume that's who we are. It changes the way we view ourselves and our reality. And that's the danger. It's not protecting you, it's limiting you. So how do we take back control? Well, again, there are 3 questions that I've used that have helped me tame the inner critic and help me regain my confidence and clarity. The first question to ask yourself is, what lie is the inner critic telling me right now? And you have to be specific. The more specific you can be about this, the more clear you can get about the lie that you're being told, the more clearly you'll be able to see that it is not reality. I'm going to use a real-life example from my life to explain this. A few weeks ago, I was trying to reach out to a friend over text. I wanted to grab coffee and catch up and see how they were doing. I sent a text, waited, heard nothing. I still wanted to reach out to this friend, but I was discouraged that I hadn't heard anything back from them. And when I was thinking about reaching out again, that's when I started to feel insecure. I started to feel as if I was being annoying or a burden to them. And that's what the lie was.
My friend did not respond back to me because I was annoying, and if I were to text them again, I would be proving them right.
Now, once you actually name this lie out loud, you start to hear and see just how ridiculous that actually is. But that's why you have to be specific about it. Be specific about the lie. The second question is, what is the actual reality of this situation? Once I understood how ridiculous that lie was, that I was being annoying and a burden, just because I was trying to text my friend, you start to actually think more realistically about what's happening. My friend is probably very busy. I texted them last week and I didn't hear anything back because life gets crazy sometimes. That sounds a lot more realistic than I'm being a burden and annoying because I texted them once or twice. And once you've established and figured out what the reality probably is in the situation, that brings us to the third question. What would it look like to act from reality instead of from the lie? If I was acting from the lie, I wouldn't text my friend. I would hold back and just accept that I am a burden. But when I see the reality of the situation, it's clear that I should do the opposite. I should reach out again. Again, they're probably busy, and either they didn't see my text or they didn't have enough time to reply and they forgot about it. By texting them again, I get to remind them, and we're going to be closer to actually communicating again. That seems like such a simple and ridiculous lie to fall into, but I feel like we all have situations like that. Simple things that when we actually are thinking and seeing the world clearly, we see that we are just overthinking and getting anxious over nothing. But it doesn't feel like nothing when we're living in that lie. Every time that you go through these questions, you are pulling away from the distortion and lies of the inner critic, and you're stepping back towards reality. If you've been struggling to keep control over your inner critic, I challenge you, I highly encourage you to take 20-30 minutes every week. Write these questions down, journal about them. Make this a special time. Make this a sacred time to sit down, pause, and reflect on your week. What are the times that you have been feeling insecure or anxious? What are the things in your life, either big or small, that you feel like you've been stuck in recently, that you haven't been able to move forward because of fear or anxiety? I believe that these questions are going to be of huge value to you to help you to start seeing the world more clearly. And if you get nothing else from any of this, I want you to remember this. The inner critic distorts, but it does not define you. That voice is not the final word about who you are. When you name the lie, replace it with a truth, and step forward in action, you move back toward who you actually are. I hope you can find your clarity and confidence.